Okay. Assuming this is recording, and I do believe it is, yeah, okay. This is a presentation, that I put together because of a, disagreement I had with someone, sort of, on the Steam forums about the projectile speed stat. Now, this some guy is kind of my mascot for my, non-gaming videos. So, just ignore him. But I'm here to just kind of explain a simple thing about projectile speed. I'll have a montage, like that video. I'll have the full version of it up on my YouTube channel, after I upload this. But, I'll have it up with no commentary, and then I'll have each individual video that, like each recording session, like each set of runs, on my Rumble channel, like I said. Anyway, like I put in the text there. Anyway, the question is, like, is projectile speed a quote-unquote dead stat? And the answer is no. Right? It may not seem like it's important, but it is. So let's look here. Say we have weapon A, 50 damage per tick. You can read, right, like on the screen. So, now I'm going to read it anyway, but 50 damage per tick, represented by two boxes for, together in the same health bar, essentially. Like, picture that this is a health bar. And then weapon B, which does 20 damage per tick, or per shot, because damage per shot would come out as DPS, so damage per tick instead for DPT. So, they both do 100 damage per second, right? I meant to put 100 DPS. You get the idea. 100 DPS each. Right? Now say you, the green circle, are here, and you're 100 units from your enemy with 100 HP. Now, both weapons, A and B, do 100 damage per second, but their projectiles move at weapon A, right, with the 50 damage per tick, moves at 50 units per second, right? Weapon B, with the 20 damage per tick, moves at 20 units per second. That would mean that weapon A would get a 2-second kill, right? And weapon B would get a 5-second kill. So let me just put that there. So this is going into the stat time to kill, or TTK, right? Now, this is a very simple concept. The time to kill still matters, because it's the difference between an enemy being, targetable, being an entity, and not. I didn't think I'd have to explain that, but there you go. Now, the other thing here is parallax. Say you have, this is the same unit, A and B. Now, unit A starts, not unit A, but like the unit starts at A, and then moves to B at 100 units per second. Now, the distance between point A and point B, like the start and the finish line, is not really as important, because as you'd imagine, the further away it is, the more important it is that your weapon's projectile is moving quickly. So, this is parallax. Like, as it moves from left to right from your character's front, the chance of a shot missing is higher if the weapon doesn't home in, the slower your projectile speed. Now, that will affect your DPS, because each shot missed is a shot that doesn't count, obviously. So yes, that still affects your DPS, right? There's also the question of how far away you want an enemy horde to be, right? Because the point at which I don't want that. But the point at which your weapon, right, with its projectile speed and its fire rate and its damage per tick all add up, is probably where you're going to see, like, to sort of illustrate this, I didn't want to do that. So say you have a swarm of enemies, right? There will be a position at which, like, a boundary that is created by your kill efficiency. If you get what I mean, right? And you will have a sort of, like, border area where some enemies might get through at random due to targeting. Priority being weird. This was visible in that little clip with calcium, where I had decided to just stand up on top of that charge shrine. You could see that there was, like, an area sort of where things moved freely, more or less. Where the weapon might fire, but it's not actually, like, keeping things dead fast enough. Like, the projectile speed doesn't create a time to kill within that distance that is efficient enough that you establish, like, a boundary. It's just sort of the hinterlands of the area around your character. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that none of this matters when we're talking about something like Frostwalkers or Aura. They are a boundary, right? But whenever we're talking about weapons like the wireless dagger, the bone, the revolver, the fireball, staff, like, this is sort of the mechanics of a time to kill death zone, like a TTK death zone, that it just DPS alone doesn't mean anything if what you want is a boundary established around your character where things just die. Does that make sense? So, like, again, if we look at this clip, right here, you could see that there's a rough boundary, like, where, if you look at where the XP shards are in this clip, you can see what I'm talking about. Like, let's just watch this for a second. You can see by where the HP, like, not HP, the XP shards sort of are at, that there's kind of a effective kill zone and then like a malleable zone where some stuff gets through but it doesn't end up touching us. Now, the efficacy of this zone is going to depend on quantity, damage, right, and fire rate. Now, again, I had, if you'll look, I had just size and projectile speed as my tomes, and just the bone and the revolver. If I had gone in on, say, like one more weapon and one more tome slot, or even just one more tome slot, and instead of area, I took like cooldown and quantity, you would see a very, very clear, like what I'm talking about would make itself very, very, very readily obvious, right? Now, in the unedited version of these runs, I'll put it up where it's like, I mean, we'll take a look at Ogre's finish with the chunkers and the axe. I mean, obviously with the axe, right? But, like, the chunkers themselves also sort of, like, aura establish a zone around your character. The thing about the chunkers is that the projectile speed also serves to increase its DPS. Which is a little odd, and you can also sort of artificially increase its DPS by circling counterclockwise around a target to like ram more of the objects into it. Let's see. I think I show it again here with Fox. Yeah. You can sort of see the same thing happening here. Right? Like, you see the idea, I hope. Time to kill is a very, it's a very important thing. Like, from shot fired to hit is a very, it's as important, arguably, in games like, Megabonk as DPS, because, frankly, it's still kind of, you can't quite say it is DPS, right? Because still, your actual damage per second, as noted here, is not changed. Like, these have the same damage per second when they hit. It's just that the time between fire and hit changes the time to kill based on your distance. So, I hope that's kind of good enough, if you will. This is kind of a... I plan on doing a longer video at some point about... the meta concept of an action economy and how that sort of can be viewed as a thing that exists between a bunch of different kinds of genres. And I was going to use Megabonk as an example, and this is sort of a part of that. Because DPS and TTK, along with stuff like efficiency and you know, a couple other concepts are very important whenever you're considering the, again, the meta strategic value of an action economy. Like, how effective your actions are versus a hostile force, or, you know, whether it be a group of enemies or an environmental obstacle or whatever. Anyway, with that, yeah, I'll get those videos uploaded eventually. I just wanted to make this real quick to show the reasoning why projectile speed in Megabonk is not actually a dead skill. It's just something that doesn't apply to some weapons, and that doesn't make it any less of a dead skill than duration, which arguably is less... duration affects less weapons than projectile speed, so I'm not really sure why projectile speed would be the one singled out, but... yeah, anyway, yeah, that's that.